Good day, I am Nurbek Svetokhunov. You're watching the news from Kazakhstan, and these are the headlines. NSC investigators are negotiating with the arrested stage director Atabayev and journalist Mamay. The journalist's lawyer suggests they are forced to testify against Kozlov and Sipaghali in exchange for release from detention, according to Article 65. One is less expensive than the other. In Kazakhstan, gas prices went down by 4 cents on July 1st, but the price of meat has gone up significantly compared to last year. Celebrations marking the Day of the City and the President's birthday are underway in the capital. The Aktobe District Court ordered the arrest of 17-year-old Kabit Kurmankulov, who survived the police raid on June 23rd. He was charged with premeditated murder of an official on duty.
On June 21st, a taxi driver was assaulted near the village Kirpichny. Policeman Timirbek Jaksalikbayev was shot and killed while trying to apprehend the criminals. 2 days later, police conducted a special operation to arrest 3 suspects. 2 of them, 21-year-old Zholmurza Bekbauov and 23-year-old Yernazar Mirzaghali, were killed, and the surviving minor, Kabit Kurmankul, taken to the Aktobe city emergency room with a light wound. So far, the police have not confirmed if the suspects had any involvement with a religious organization or a criminal group. In the meantime, Kurmankulov has been discharged from the hospital and arrested. According to the Aktobe Regional Court Press Service, the case is considered especially grave and will be likely handled by the Aktobe City Court No. 2. The arrest warrant has been granted according to the ruling of the Aktobe City Court No. 2 dated June 28th in relation to the underage Kurmankul.
In Aktau, the National Security Committee is attempting to negotiate with the detained Bolat Atabayev and Jean-Bolat Mamay, says the journalist lawyer Abzal Kuspanov. He alleges they are called to testify against the politician Vladimir Kozlov in return for Article 65, according to which the measure of constraint may be requalified as a result of remorse. Relatives of the arrested continue to wait for the release of activists from prison. More on the story next.
It is quiet, nothing changed so far. Family members of Bolat Atabayev and Jean-Bolat Mamay have been in the dark for 5 days. The 74-year-old father of Jean-Bolat Mamay does not understand why is there such a hassle with his son. Despite the fact that he is his son's public defender, which is allowed by law, the NSC doesn't grant him permission to visit Jean-Bolat. The investigator leading this case, Talgat Talikbayev, ignores all phone calls, and Jean-Bolat's attorney can't get a hold of him either. No one replies. I've sent him a message, called him both on the cell and work phone, but had no luck. I can't seem to get a hold of him. You can hear it ringing, but he doesn't answer his phone. He doesn't pick it. I've been trying to get through to him since July 27th. On Monday morning, Dana Atabayev and Abzal Kuspanov were allowed to enter the building of temporary detention facility. At the end of the last week, Mamay's attorney and Atabayev's sister were assured that both activists will be released very soon. The family members couldn't hide how happy they were and how difficult it was for them to make it through the weekend, yet the promise never materialized. I'm very confused. It's a riddle. So what's next? Tomorrow I'll bring another parcel to him and pay him another visit. That's it for now. In the meantime, the sister of the well-known stage director is trying to calm herself and Mamay Sr. down, telling him what she saw at the temporary detention facility. Both activists feel fine, sometimes even joke that the ward is starting to feel like home to them, and the food no longer seems so tasteless, but they understand the situation will have to change soon. From June 27th to this very day, I've heard nothing. Nobody contacts me. I don't know what's the reason. On Monday, I left a message saying that I'm sick, I'm hypertensive, I'm at risk of getting a stroke, or I can die because of high blood pressure. I need to make him contact me and clarify the situation. It's especially difficult for Mamay's father since he's not feeling well. Upon receiving no answer to his inquiry to investigator Talikbayev or the head of the investigative team Baldairov, the man went to the postal office and sent telegrams to the prosecutor general and the chairman of the NSC. Mamay Bikujiv demands for the last time to take immediate action against the people who cause great emotional strain to the 70-year-old man.
Meanwhile, Frontline Defenders, the International Fund for the Protection of Human Rights Activists, urges Kazakh authorities to release the director Bolat Atabayev and remove all charges against him. Members of the organization are concerned by the news of his beating during the arrest and complaints of abuse while in custody. In this regard, the activists urge Kazakh authorities to immediately punish those responsible for the abuse of Bolat Atabayev and to provide the most appropriate medical care to the director.
We ask to initiate an immediate, thorough and impartial investigation and retrial into the events of Zhanaozen in December 2011 and seize all forms of judicial harassment of members of the Zhanaozen 2011 coalition. Guarantee in all circumstances that all human rights defenders in Kazakhstan are able to carry out their legitimate human rights activities without fear of reprisals and free of all restrictions, including judicial harassment.
The website Respublika continues to publish the arrested politician Vladimir Kozlov's letters from prison. In a new series, leader of the opposition party Alga reflects on the penitentiary system and its difference from, or rather its similarity to the NKVD system that existed in the Soviet Union. The opposition member writes that only in prison can one deeply feel the rotten system of the regime. However, Kozlov does not condemn those who could not resist its onslaught.
It is hard to reproach people who gave up, especially when one knows what they are running away from and what they have to go through despite being innocent and genuinely puzzled by why it has happened to them. In fact, this is very reason why these people are arrested for fabricated charges. Spending time in prison, suffering and going crazy because of this injustice force people to sign anything just for the hope to be released.
In other news, former Prime Minister of Great Britain and advisor to President Nazarbayev, Tony Blair, earned £20 million last year. According to the Daily Mail, the money was received for policy advice to business leaders as well as heads of foreign governments.
The president's administration hired Tony Blair as Nursultan Nazarbayev's economic reforms advisor in October 2011. Blair's pay cut was not officially announced, but according to some sources, the former British Prime Minister is getting £8 million per year. The Daily Mail notes that besides Kazakhstan, Blair also consults the government of Kuwait, an American investment bank, and a Swiss insurance company.
An unofficial start to the city's main holiday on a countrywide scale was given in Astana. The capital turns 14 years old on July 6, while President Nursultan Nazarbayev turns 72. The city has been preparing for the three-day festivities all week long. Last weekend was the opening of the international action film festival called Astana. Stars that attended the festival and the upcoming events in honor of the capital in the next report.
Astana is hosting the third annual action film festival founded by the wanted and Abraham Lincoln vampire hunter director Timur Bekmambetov. However, this time there were not as many Hollywood stars at the red carpet ceremony. Perhaps only Vincent Cassel stood out among the lesser-known Russian and Kazakh actors. The Frenchman, known for Doberman, Ocean's 12 and Black Swan, gave a press conference complimenting the city, joking about the abundance of horse meat in Astana and finally praising the event organizers.
Well, honestly, it's not about if the movie is from Kazakhstan or not. It's just if the movie is interesting. You know, I always consider, you know, the proposition. I don't think it's the nationality of a movie that makes it interesting or appealing. You know, it's just, you know, it's the director, really. So, for example, yes, Timur, if he would come to ask me to do something, and I think he was about to, from what he told me last night, that's definitely somebody I'd love to work with.
The head of the event explained that fewer international celebrities came to Astana because this year's festival spotlights young Asian directors from Korea, Beijing and Kyoto. Timur Bekmambetov believes that the capital of Kazakhstan will play a significant role in the future of movie making. We don't hold any more parades of the 90s stars. We decided to do our best and make Astana a center of Asian filmmaking. Akan Satayev, the director of the successful Kazakh blockbuster Zhaozhayak Manbala, also sees a promising future for locally made movies. He, however, still prefers the old-school Hollywood system. The producer is certain that a quality product is the key to the world market. If we produce high-quality films with current movie-making trends in mind, they will be easier to export. Then people will talk about and buy our products abroad. In the meantime, Astana has hosted another, although less hyped event. Young activists from the ruling party set up a flash mob at the capital symbol Bayterek, putting together the word Astana with their bodies. City residents may expect many events like this in the coming days, leading up to the official anniversary of the city. The high-budget celebration will commence on July 6 and linger over a week.
The World Chess Federation also adjusted its tournament date to fit the day of the capital. On Monday, July 2nd, the World Cup qualifying tournament in Rapid and Blitz started in Astana. Immediately after its completion, the championship itself will begin July 5th. These types of rapid format competitions without interruption and even held in a single city and country are conducted for the first time. Organizers admit to holding the championship specifically on the holiday in order to raise the image of the country. Our crew investigates why the PR campaign has once again cost Kazakhstan an arm and a leg.
Astana is hosting another international event. The qualifying tournament of the World Cup for Rapid and Blitz was launched on Monday in one of the city hotels. 30 players, all titled Grandmasters from 9 countries, submitted their applications to participate. While organizers were giving speeches, the guests joked behind the scenes and compared chess pieces and presidents. I think that in Kazakhstan, the king and queen are represented by one person, although it is possible to see the queen and other important chess pieces in Ukraine. In the case of Kazakhstan, I think that queen and king are the same. The qualifying tournament will be followed by the championship, which will start on July 5th. The tournament is held in such format for the first time. 6 countries competed to host the event. Kazakhstan won due to best conditions offered by organizers. In total, the event will cost around $800,000. There's no goal to cover the expenses. Usually such events do not repay. Everything is quite simple and is done to create good image. According to political scientist Azim Baygali, $800,000 are worth the creation of a positive country image. He believes that everything will pay off in the form of investments in tourism in due time. Positive image costs money since it needs to be promoted. It is not easily obtained and usually requires additional elements like models, architecture, national cuisine and hospitality. The head of the Union of Patriotic Youth, Mohammed Abjan, disagrees with the political scientist, saying that despite everything, Kazakhstan has a negative image in the eyes of independent international observers. Therefore, he believes that the state, before attempting to strengthen its international image, it needs to solve its internal issues. I doubt that it is possible to create positive image with such sports events. It would be a totally different matter if those sponsors and investors with $800,000 were persuaded to spend these money for the construction of schools. Then I believe our government could have gained a greater positive image in the eyes of citizens, and the promotion campaign could have been even better. Meanwhile, on July 5th, the tournament will be opened in the presence of the President of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, and will continue until July 10th. Throughout the event, all grandmasters will be enjoying 5-star hotel suites and finest meals. The organizers emphasized that the state didn't spend a dime on the tournament and all the expenses were covered by sponsors.
The city of Almaty is also preparing for the president's birthday. Dissidents are planning to enter the square and express their protest. According to organizers, this will be another meeting of citizens who are trying to convey to Akorda the non-democratic state of affairs in the country.
We want to remind the president that despite the happy mood of officials, the country has no democracy, that despite being suppressed, people still understand everything, and that something is indeed rotten in our state of Denmark. Bakhtjan Torigozhina, the head of the Arukhak Foundation, has nothing to do with the future protest action. At least, this is what she claims. Her foundation has approached the celebration with a competition of poems about the nation's leader. The poems were sent from different regions of the country and even the neighboring Kyrgyzstan. According to organizers, winners will be awarded t-shirts with the print of great Kazakh poet Abay, who has become the symbol of freedom. At first, the contest was to be humorous, but judging by received poems, people are not in the mood for jokes, says Torigozhina. When we announced the competition, I wanted all this to be humorous, but it turns out our people have neither time nor place for jokes, and this is why all these poems and verses are serious, with a serious message and wishes for the nation's leader.
A series of solitary pickets were once again held in Karaganda. Civic activists demanded freedom for politician Vladimir Kozlov, director Bolat Atabayev, and journalist Shambolat Mamay.
The main Zhanozyan case has been closed. It doesn't matter how the trial was conducted. The ones who were on the square received their prison sentences. It is of course unfair. Now we have a lot of politicians, public activists and reporters who were not directly involved in those events, and they simply helped oil workers in their struggle against the system. They are ordinary people, and in my opinion, they did the right thing. But now they are in prison. Public activists held a series of one-man rallies in different parts of the city. The opposition members took turns and stood holding banners in crowded city locations. Only rare passers stopped to ask about the fate of the arrested Vladimir Kozlov, Bolat Atabayev and Janbulat Mamay. Traditionally, the protest action attracted more attention from law enforcement and other officials. When the picket was coming to an end, the police arrested Ruslan Baytasov, an Alga party activist who was the last to take part in the rally. Galimbek Akulbekov was also brought to the police station, and both men were released later on.
More than 20 children were poisoned in Kuandish kindergarten in the village Balpak B of Almaty region. Immediately after lunch, preschoolers' temperatures soared. They began vomiting and having diarrhea. The children were hospitalized.
A crew of the public health and infectious disease physicians are now working in the preschool facility. They took samples of food, water and swabs. Children who were in contact with the victims and staff members of the kindergarten went through a bacteriological test. The cause of poisoning has not been identified as of yet. All the infected kids were delivered to the contagious isolation ward of the district hospital. The sanitary authorities are currently taking all the necessary anti-epidemic measures. When we arrived on Sunday, there were 18 poisoned children, and we have 5 more after the rounds in the neighborhood. They were hospitalized the same night. On Monday, we've received 2 more patients, bringing the total number of victims to 25. The lab tests are not ready yet, and we may have provisional examination results by Tuesday. As of now, we haven't identified the source of infection yet.
Meanwhile, according to the National Statistics Agency, meat prices in Kazakhstan rose by a quarter compared to last year.
According to official statistics, beef prices in 2012 increased by 26%, mutton by 22%, horse meat by 21%, and pork by 18%. Sausage and other meat products also became more expensive, increasing by almost 10%. However, food prices in general have risen only by 3.6%. Nonetheless, statistics do not explain the reasons behind the price hike, yet the situation on home markets upsets ordinary consumers. We eat meat practically every day, but of course I would like it to be a little cheaper. At times we can't afford it. Recently it was $8, but now it's 10. What is this? What kind of prices are these? Let the government reevaluate and lower the prices. Everything is going up. Of course I do not like it, but I'm paying what they're asking for now.
While the price of meat is growing, fuel is getting cheaper. Price tags at gas stations across Kazakhstan changed on average by 4 cents on July 1st. Gas prices have fallen for the first time in several years. A liter of diesel now costs 60 cents, unleaded gasoline 57 cents, while regular and premium petrol are selling for only 72 cents per liter. The Agency for Regulation of Natural Monopolies decided to reduce prices due to changes in rates for Brent crude oil in the stock market.
Gasoline will not drop like oil prices because our gas market is monopolized to a large extent. I don't think monopolists will be interested in lowering prices. Experts agree that it is too early to celebrate. The decrease of gas prices is not comparable with the price drop of oil per barrel. It's only 6% to 30% respectively. Besides, the obligatory decrease of retail fuel prices will hit entrepreneurs the most. State interference into the matters may result in millions lost by fuel suppliers. The purchasing prices are not dropping, while retail prices will have to be lowered by 4 cents. Smaller fuel companies may not be able to survive such regulation. It is likely we will hold a press conference on Wednesday. We will give all comments there.
Occupy Astana was promised to be arranged by activists of Leave Housing to the People in case the government and state agencies continue to ignore them. On Monday in Almaty, members of the movement spoke about their trip to the capital. There they left written requests to respond to the problems of the borrowers. In particular, they asked to review the high interest rates on mortgage loans and to amend the legislation in order to facilitate the payment for single housing.
We've received no reply from the Senate, and 3 lower chamber MPs sent us regular non-obliging responses. Akhmetbekov just sent everything to Sabelyanov's email, and Klebanova gave absolutely typical and identical response, as if it was a carbon copy. This is what we've been receiving for the last 5 years. On June 28th, activists from Almaty and Shymkent went to Astana to demand the authorities to resolve problems with the banks. Many of them complained that due to lost jobs, people couldn't pay the high rates and fines as per outstanding bank agreements. A surprise was waiting for activists in the capital, as the administration appeared to be an impenetrable fort with no doors or windows. The delegates were not able to submit the complaints to the president's administration. Now the people are waiting for the MPs to return from their summer break. In the meantime, they threaten a new protest because many mortgage holders still face the risk of eviction. I am a pure Kazakh, born and raised here. I don't have another motherland. Why am I becoming a homeless with a huge debt here? Please explain this to me. What kind of system does our state have now? The people are left on their own, and the state is somewhere else entirely.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said on Monday that the Embassy of Kazakhstan in Russia has not suffered financial losses due to the illegal transfer of parts of the building by fraudsters. They also added that negotiations with the authorities in Moscow to evict squatters from the diplomatic mission's building are still underway.
Recently, the Russian and Kazakhstan media published a number of unverified stories. At present, the Kazakh embassy in Moscow is holding talks with Moscow authorities on the eviction of unknown persons who have illegally occupied the basement for commercial activity at building number 1 on Chistoprudny Boulevard. As I pointed out earlier, we hope that the Russian party will take all the necessary and legal measures to meet the obligations agreed upon earlier. The official foreign ministry representative assured on Monday that the facility in the downtown Moscow was not meant as Nursultan Nazarbayev's residence. Allegedly, the embassy wanted to expand the building for another project, a cultural and business center of Kazakhstan in Russia. To recap, Russian newspaper Izvestia was the first to report the scandal. Reporters found out that because of the actions of the alleged con artists, Kazakhstan's diplomatic mission has lost about 4 million and an opportunity to place a residence of the Kazakhstan's nation's leader in the center of Russia's capital. A criminal investigation into the matter has been already initiated.
Finally, the scandal over illegal searches of UNT graduates ended with nothing. The capital's Department of Internal Affairs reported on Monday that the facts of abuse of authority by police officers have not been confirmed, and neither have the complaints of high school graduates. Thus, the action was dismissed with the usual wording of lack of evidence.
Out of 38 applicants, 17 dropped their claims to the police, 3 did not confirm their complaints, and other 3 signed the claims by mistake as they thought the signatures were collected for the appeal against the results of the unified national testing. According to the police, 7 of the applicants were not even on the list of graduates who were taking the UNT. Only 3 confirmed cases of illegal searches. They, however, refused further actions against police officers. The Department of Internal Affairs did not give any response as to their reasons. This reinforced journalists' doubts about the objectivity of the investigation. In order to dispel these doubts, senior officers said that during the inspection of school graduates in Astana Agro-Technical University, where the initial scandal was reported, they confiscated over 270 mobile phones and numerous cheat notes. Earlier, parents claimed that their children were stripped to their underwear prior to taking the UNT. Later, this fact was confirmed by the Education Minister Bakhtjan Jumagulov himself.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. Have a great start of the month.